compressions, 2 breaths, 30 compressions, 2 breaths. Keep repeating until the paramedics come, or until you're too tired to continue.
The idea is to pump the blood through the system, correct?
Right.
Yes, yes. So the idea is the purpose of CPR is to squeeze the heart, okay? And the purpose of giving the breath is to give the person oxygen. Okay? So, yeah. In order for you to do the technique needs to require you to compress this deep. Okay? So we are born with the breastbone and the rib cage to protect the heart and protect the lungs. It's very, very hard. Okay? Now, in order to squeeze the heart, you gotta go this deep, otherwise completely pointless. So you're actually doing quite a lot of damage.
You're breaking the breastbone, aren't you?
You're breaking the ribs. Not the breastbone, but the ribs.
Okay.
Yeah. So especially for an older person, yeah, you will crack the ribs. The ribs may not stick out, okay, but inside you crack, and then the bones will puncture the lungs. So when you're doing, and I'm not trying to, it's kind of depressing, and I'm not trying to scare people from doing CPR. You know, if you need to do CPR on somebody, they're not breathing, they're going to die. So yeah, please do CPR. But at the same time, I'm just trying to warn you that yeah, it is a very traumatic experience both for the casualty and the first aider, because you're trying to keep the person viable, not resuscitate the person.
If you don't feel the hand going down that deep,
you're not compressing the heart. Which is completely pointless. If you're being, you know, some students, they said, oh yeah, you're right, I am scared, but why don't I err? How did he put it? He says, err on the side of caution or something like that. Meaning, let me do it just barely. You know, like he doesn't want to break the bone. Yeah, and yet still somehow be able to squeeze the heart. And I told him, no. Especially for an older adult, in order to go this deep, because this is hard, right? But if you don't compress hard enough, you're doing nothing. So you have to go this deep, you will crack the ribs. But then why do we do so much damage to a person? We have no choice. Okay, we want to keep the person viable. Viable meaning we want to keep the blood flowing and air in the person's body so that when the paramedics come, they will help them.
Yeah, because they would automatically use the paddles. They would start CPR too, would they not?
They will do CPR. They will continue to do CPR until not when you say the paddles, you're talking about the defibrillator, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's actually the drugs they give them to help them. The defibrillator, if it's a completely flat liner, it doesn't help. It's a misconception. You see movies. You watch a television shows. Those doctors, emergency shows. They bring out the pads. Oh, it's a flat liner. They bring out the defibrillator. Boom, shock, back to life. That's actually not true. It's not the defibrillator. It's the adrenaline, the epinephrine that they give them. Right. They first need to give them the epinephrine, get the heart to start jiggling, so that it starts doing this instead of a completely flat line. Then once it starts doing this, then the pads come in, shock it back to the normal EKG. But yeah, the doctors will do what they need to do, which is to give them drugs, adrenaline. But as far as we, the first aiders, the only thing that we can do for somebody who's not breathing is to just keep them viable, which means continue to squeeze the heart and give them oxygen. But you're definitely not resuscitating the person.
The only way to do that is break their ribs.
Yep. For a younger person, if you're a teen, maybe 20-year-old, you may be able to get away with not breaking his ribs, but for an older person, for sure. Otherwise, you're not squeezing the heart. Yeah, so I have a student who once asked me, says, okay, then, and he asked me such a great question that every class I remember bringing it up. Okay? He says, oh, Ben, okay, I understand you said, I understand you taught me a technique of assessing breathing. I understand that you said all the paramedics use the same technique. But what if I'm not sure? I think he's breathing, but then maybe not. Under those circumstances when I'm not sure, should I do CPR on the person? And I'll tell you why it's such a great question, for two reasons. Okay? Number one, it's such a great question because in a real life situation, that truly is what's going to happen to most of the people. Okay? They're not sure. There's a lot of noise. They're afraid. They don't know. Is he breathing? I think he is. But then maybe not. It really is going to happen. A second reason why it's such a good question is because if you make the wrong call, think of this casualty as your own husband, your own wife, your own father, or even your own son and daughter. If he or she is already breathing, yeah, you don't want to be doing the compressions. It's going to do a lot of damage. The doctor will have to fix it afterwards. If he's already breathing and you're doing this, yeah, not a good idea. Okay? However, if the person is in fact not breathing, and you say, yeah, I think he's breathing, let's leave him alone. It's going to die. Okay? So that's why when he says, Ben, tell me what to do, when I'm not sure, should I do CPR? I'm just curious. Diana, would you do it when you're not sure?
Well, if I wasn't sure in the beginning, I'd double check with the victim. If you didn't notice something the first time, you'd take another listen and watch the chest a bit. And like you said, you rip the shirt open,
Yeah.
so you should be able to see whether it's rising